Courtney, that was bloody fantastic.
Thank you.
Let me tell you something, Courtney. Something has changed in you. Trust me. In the time you were on the show last year to now, your interaction with the audience, the confidence. I think this has been my favourite performance of you so far.
Let me tell you something, Courtney. Something has changed in you. Trust me, in the time you were on the show last year to now, your interaction with the audience, the confidence. I think this has been my favorite performance of you so far. Imagine standing on the stage of America's Got Talent. The lights are blinding, the crowd is roaring, and every judge is leaning forward in anticipation. But for you, there's only one face that matters. Simon Cowell's. He isn't clapping. He isn't smiling. But that doesn't mean you failed. When Simon is silent, when he leans back in his chair like he's just witnessed something rare and electrifying, that's when you know you've done the impossible. That was the moment for Courtney Hadwin in 2018. A nervous 13-year-old from a small English village walked onto the biggest talent show in the world, shy and almost trembling. But by the time her audition ended, she had transformed into a firestorm. Her voice carried the grit of a seasoned rock legend. Her movements were wild and untamed, and her energy was unlike anything the judges had ever seen. She didn't just sing, she exploded. The golden buzzer was slammed, confetti rained down, and within hours, her audition was being replayed across the world. For a moment, she was the internet's newest obsession, and many believed they were witnessing the birth of the next great superstar. But just as fast as the lights had turned on, they began to dim. The story of Courtney Hadwin isn't the straight path to fame and glory that everyone expected. Instead, it's a story of pressure, identity, struggle, and the harsh reality of what it means to be young in an industry that devours talent as quickly as it celebrates it. So, what really happened to Courtney Hadwin and where is she now? To answer that, we have to go back before the golden buzzer, before America's Got Talent, and before the world knew her name. Courtney Hadwin was born on July 6, 2004 in the tiny village of Hesselin in County Durham, England. Hesselin is the kind of place where everyone knows everyone. A former mining community tucked away in the northeast. It wasn't a town known for producing international stars, but it did raise Courtney alongside her siblings Paul and Melissa under the care of her parents Paul and Anne Marie. Life there was simple, and Courtney was by all accounts just another child who loved to sing around the house. But there was something in her voice, something different. Unlike most kids her age, Courtney wasn't just humming along to pop songs on the radio. She gravitated toward sounds with soul, music with raw emotion, the kind that stirred something inside you. And once she saw Connie Talbot, another young girl, perform on Britain's Got Talent, a dream sparked in her mind. If Connie could do it, maybe she could, too. By the time she was 9 or 10 years old, Courtney had begun taking her singing seriously. She performed wherever she could at home, at school, and eventually in front of her classmates. One performance in particular changed everything. At her school, she sang Say Something by a Great Big World and Christina Aguilera. A friend recorded the moment and uploaded it to Facebook. What started as a casual school performance turned into a viral clip in her community. People who had no idea Courtney had such a voice were stunned. Here was a young girl who sounded far older than her years with a soulful depth that seemed impossible coming from a child. The video spread, and with it came encouragement. People told her she had something rare and urged her to pursue it. And Courtney listened, but dreams aren't free. Singing lessons, travel to competitions, costumes, and opportunities all cost money. And for a working-class family in a small village, that wasn't easy. Courtney's determination pushed her to do something unusual for a kid her age. She started busking on street corners and shopping centers, anywhere she could. She performed for strangers, earning a few pounds here and there. It wasn't much, but it helped her pay for lessons and cover travel. Her grandfather would later share how proud the family was of her independence. At such a young age, Courtney was already working for her dream. She trained at multiple Mise en schools from Shotton Hall Theatre School to Julie Miles's Vocal Ovation. Each one sharpening her raw talent into something stronger. Her first big step into the spotlight came in 2015 when she entered Teen Star UK's singing Bob Dylan's Make You Feel My Love. She stunned audiences and reached the grand final. It was her first taste of recognition outside her hometown, and it proved she wasn't just a local talent. She had the potential to compete nationally. The following year, at just 12 years old, she won Hartlepool's Performer of the Year award, adding to her growing list of achievements. Soon after, she auditioned for Open Mic UK, delivering a powerful version of Nothing Compares to You. These weren't just talent shows, they were training grounds. Each stage gave Courtney more confidence. Each audience taught her how to connect. And each performance shaped her into the artist she was becoming. That same year, she had one of her biggest opportunities yet, opening for Sister Sledge at the South Tyneside Festival. Nearly 18,000 people were in the crowd. For a girl used to singing in small halls and classrooms, it was overwhelming. But when she opened her mouth and let her voice out, the nerves disappeared. The crowd roared and Courtney realized she belonged on big stages. She wasn't just a child performer anymore. She was stepping into something much bigger. In 2017, Courtney auditioned for The Voice Kids UK, singing Tina Turner's Nutbush City Limits. She brought energy and grit that turned heads instantly. She joined Danny Jones's team, sailed through the battle round with Dancing in the Street, and in the semifinals and finals, delivered powerhouse performances like James Brown's I Got You, I Feel Good and I Am Telling You I'm Not Going. She didn't win, but it didn't matter. She had once again proven herself on national television, and the buzz around her kept growing. Fans began describing her as an old soul trapped in a young body. A girl who could channel legends of the past with uncanny force. By this point, Courtney wasn't just chasing her dream, she was living it. But through all of this, one thing remained constant: her family. Her parents worked tirelessly to support her. Her father took on extra jobs, delivering pizzas, doing whatever could to fund travel and lessons. Her mother kept her grounded, reminding her that fame wasn't the goal. Music was. Even when Courtney's career began to cross oceans with auditions in the United States, her family was right there beside her. When she later competed on America's Got Talent, her father traveled back and forth to Los Angeles so she wouldn't have to face the journey alone. Fame can break young performers, but Courtney's family was her anchor. They gave her the confidence to take bigger leaps. And by early 2018, the leap was massive. America's Got Talent was calling. By the time Courtney landed in America for season 13 of America's Got Talent, she had already faced her fair share of stages and competitions. But nothing could have prepared her for what awaited her in Los Angeles. The AGT stage is massive, the lights brighter, the audience louder, the judges harsher. Walking out that night, Courtney looked like any shy teenager might. Awkward, nervous, almost wishing she could disappear into the floor. She fiddled with her hands, barely made eye contact, and when asked about herself, she answered softly, her voice almost trembling. For the audience, she seemed like an unlikely star. But that impression lasted only until the music began. Fame had arrived, but so had the heavy cost of it. The world still saw Courtney as the fiery young singer who had stunned AG, but behind closed doors, she was struggling to reconcile who she truly was with who the industry wanted her to become. The whirlwind of attention was thrilling, but it was also exhausting. She was still a teenager trying to live up to a reputation she hadn't asked for. The next Janis Joplin, the prodigy, the future superstar, and the weight of all those titles began to feel too heavy. This was the turning point for Courtney Hadwin. The dream wasn't over, but the reality of achieving it was proving far more complicated than anyone could have imagined. The months following Courtney's record deal were a whirlwind of excitement on the surface and turbulence underneath. To the outside world, she was the teenage prodigy signed to Simon Cowell's label, the viral sensation destined to take over the music charts. But for Courtney herself, life began to feel more like a maze than a dream. The moment she signed her contract, the expectations changed. She wasn't just Courtney from Heathen anymore. She was Courtney Hadwin, a brand. Every song had to be marketable, every performance perfectly polished, every photo calculated to fit the image the industry wanted to sell. For a girl who once sang in street corners for fun, the shift was dizzying. Suddenly, her days were structured around deadlines. A typical week could mean flying across the Atlantic for meetings in New York or Los Angeles, stepping into recording studios with producers she barely knew, and being handed songs she hadn't written, expected to make them her own. She was pushed into co-writing sessions where seasoned professionals pitched melodies and lyrics, trying to mold her sound into something mainstream. On paper, this was the opportunity of a lifetime. Access to top-tier producers, exposure to major markets, and a direct pipeline the global stage. But emotionally, Courtney began to feel like a passenger in her own career. The music she had once loved to sing from her heart was now being dissected, packaged, and repurposed for commercial success. It wasn't that Courtney didn't want success. She wanted to sing, to perform, to share her voice with the world. But the industry she had entered wasn't always interested in who she really was. They wanted a product, something familiar yet marketable, and the constant comparisons to Janis Joplin became both a blessing and a curse. Fans and critics alike were fascinated by the idea that this young girl could carry the soul of a rock legend. But the label wanted to bottle that lightning to make it repeatable, predictable, profitable. For Courtney, it felt like being trapped. She admired Joplin, but she didn't want to become her shadow. She wanted to be Courtney. The pressure was relentless. At just 14, she was being treated like a seasoned adult performer, asked to deliver under the kind of scrutiny most people don't face until much later in their careers, if at all. Long hours in the studio left her drained. Interviews expected her to sound confident and articulate when she was still shy at heart. Social media amplified everything from glowing praise to cruel criticism. For a teenager still trying to figure out who she was, it was a storm of voices pulling her in every direction. Fans wanted one thing, producers another, executives something else entirely. Somewhere in the middle, Courtney was trying not to lose herself, and then came the realization that would change her path. The joy was slipping away. The thing she had loved since childhood, the thing that had made her light up inside, was starting to feel like a job she couldn't escape. She later admitted that people were telling what I should sound like and who I should be. That loss of control gnawed at her. The industry machine wanted to shape her into a star, but in the process, they were dimming the very spark that had made her special in the first place. By late 2019, cracks were beginning to show. Her much-anticipated debut album, which fans expected to drop quickly after her record deal, never materialized. Months turned into years, and while she released a few singles, the momentum that had once seemed unstoppable began to slow. The world that had been buzzing with her name during her AGT days seemed to quiet down. People started to ask, what happened to Courtney Hadwin? For some, it looked like she had faded away. But the truth was more complicated. Courtney hadn't given up. She was fighting for her identity. Behind the scenes, she wrestled with the conflict every young artist faces in the industry. Do you follow the path laid out for you, or do you risk everything to find your own voice? For Courtney, the answer became clearer with time. She didn't want to be molded into something she wasn't. She didn't want to chase fame at the cost of her passion. And so, instead of rushing into an album that didn't represent her, she pulled back. It wasn't an easy decision. Labels wanted music. Fans wanted content. The world wanted more, but Courtney wanted authenticity. Her decision to step back confused many. Beauty also showed a maturity beyond her years. Most teenagers would have been swept up in the glamour, eager top lease, desperate to stay in the spotlight. But Courtney had seen and know that fame without authenticity wasn't worth it. She began focusing on writing her own material, experimenting with her sound, and reconnecting with why she had started singing in the first place. It was a quiet rebellion against an industry that thrives on speed and spectacle. Of course, stepping back had consequences. Without new releases, the media moved on. Other AGT stars took the spotlight. New viral sensations appeared, and the buzz that had once surrounded her name faded. But Courtney was gone. She was rebuilding slowly, quietly on her own terms. For fans who only saw the headlines, it looked like she had vanished after her big break, but those who looked closer saw something else. A young artist refusing to let the industry define her. by the time the world entered the turbulence of 2020 and beyond. With live shows canceled and music careers disrupted, Courtney's decision to step back seemed almost prophetic. She wasn't chasing the spotlight anymore. She was crafting her own path. It wasn't the fairy tale rise everyone had expected, but in many ways, it was a truer story. Courtney Hadwin wasn't just another viral sensation chewed up by fame.